It's moved the report be received and the recommendation be recommended by Brian. Do I have a seconder? Mark? Any questions? Any comments? All those in favor? Motion's carried. There is a report from the Community Improvement Plan Committee, and there's a recommendation there as well. Does anyone feel comfortable moving that recommendation? It's moved by David. Do I have a seconder? Steve? Are there any questions? Are there any comments? Joan?
This is regarding 9B, correct?
8B. You have a comment.
Sorry. Yes, sorry, I meant 8B. A couple questions. From what I read, this sign, oh, wait a minute.
I'll come back to you, Joan. You can get yourself together. David has a comment as well. I'll come back.
No, I'll no question, thank you.
Okay, now I have, back to Joan. You have a couple questions or a comment?
The community improvement plan, a final shop detail to be provided and approved by D. Powell. This is regarding a sign. That sign would have previously, though, been approved by our building department or someone within the county before it's actually given the go-ahead by someone on this committee?
Our general manager is coming forward, I think, to answer your question and just perhaps shed some light on what you're experiencing. Allison?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Through you. It does go through the building department to ensure that it adheres to all our signing bylaws prior to going to the Community Improvement Plan Committee. The reason for this is through the committee, we required 2 quotes. There was some question as to whether the materials and the actual design would adhere to the quote. They weren't specific on the materials used, which is why they're asking for a final detail to be provided prior to the release of funds.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, with that clarification, I'm prepared to call the question. All those in favor? Opposed? That motion is carried, and that takes us to staff reports. First, the Corporate Services Department. There's a report from our bylaw General Manager, Lindale, and there's a recommendation there, and this is a consolidation of our parking bylaws. Does someone feel comfortable making that motion to put it on the floor? John, seconded by Mark. Are there any questions? John?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. This is a consolidation. Did we take any opportunity to revise it, to think about changes to it?
Perhaps Lynn can come forward. As Lynn comes forward, I'll just point out that bylaws can be amended at any time. If something comes up at any time, depending on what happens at the level, it can be amended. So this isn't a tablet written in stone. It's up for amendment. And I think you would agree with me that there's a lot of places in there, and we may have missed one. And I think that's what you're alluding to. So I think I'm stating that correctly.
Yeah, Mr. Chair, to Council through the Chair, the reason for the consolidation was to enable the implementation of some software that's going to allow for issuance of tickets using an Android device and real-time record management and online payment system. And prior to implementing the software, it was seen as being an opportunity to consolidate the bylaw, all the amendments into one package. There's been a couple changes with respect to a couple of offenses, but all the regulations in the bylaw are as per whatever council has approved in the past in terms of setting those parking regulations. It doesn't constitute an overall review of whether or not the parking restrictions within the county are suitable at this time, but it was just an opportunity to consolidate a bunch of bylaw amendments into one little package at this time. So that was the intent of it, and that's all that was put forward at this time.
And having, oh, sorry, David?
Further question, clarification. So there's been 47 bylaw amendments. There's going to be another one maybe next week, hopefully, with no parking on the one side of Alexander Street in Burford. So to be clear then, as we approve these, they just, nothing really changes from our perspective. The Public Works goes out, puts up a sign, and it just goes into the software and everybody's aware of it at the county staff level?
So